Hello and welcome to Council Action. I'm Russell Inman, and joining us tonight from Ward 5 is Councilman Keith Schildroth. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, this was a nice start to this meeting. Whenever we get to celebrate something that is beautiful in the city of Florissant, it's warming, it's welcoming. And we had the Beautiful Home Awards tonight, and each ward got to pick out one home in their district and kind of award them this Beautiful Home Award. Tell us a little bit more about that.
This is a great program by Carol Mara and her staff, and I'd like to thank her and Terry Ryder with the Citizens Participation Committee. There's some really 9 beautiful homes in our city, and there's a Mayor's Choice is also included in that. I can talk about 2 of the homes, specifically 355 Graham Road. It's down on Robert Ormsby. They have a really beautiful older home that sits on a really busy thoroughfare in North County on Graham Road. There's a lot of traffic there, and unfortunately sometimes, folks that aren't good neighbors, they litter and do things like that, and the Ormsbys have managed to keep their home, their front lawn with great plants, and their front porch is beautiful, and they have a really nice piece of property, and I couldn't be happier for them. They put in a lot of work, as do all the other winners. And the Mayor's Choice was the Ferrars on 396 North Jefferson, which is in Ward 5, and we're real honored for that. I tell you what, if you haven't been by the Ferrars house, you're really missing something. Seasonally, times of the year, they decorate their homes with a patriotic theme, a Christmas theme, a Victorian theme. It's an older home, and it's on a busy thoroughfare too. It's on the thoroughfare of Washington and North Jefferson. And there again, there's a lot of people going by, a lot of traffic, and they managed to keep their home and their detached garage in beautiful shape. And it's a long time coming that they've won this award. It's the Mayor's Choice Award, and I couldn't be happier for the Ferrars. They're both retired and they're older, but I'm telling you, you wouldn't know it from this house. I mean, Rich is out there all the time, and I have some friends who live across the street on Washington, and they just marvel at the job that he does. And I couldn't be happier for him. And I want to congratulate them and the Ormsbys and all the other winners. It's really great that people take care of their homes, and a lot of people do in Florissant. These just stand out, and I challenge folks to spruce up their property and get a hold of their councilman. We do this every year, and the Citizens Participation Committee, along with Miss O'Mara and her staff, do a great job, and they ask us every year to nominate 1 or 2 homes, and I really enjoy driving around the ward a lot and making notes and submitting these choices to the city, and it's a really good honor, and we have a lot of good houses in Florissant, a lot of good properties, a lot of well-kept properties, and I just hope this inspires people to do even more.
It's important for the residents of Florissant to take pride in their property. That's what's going to keep our city beautiful,
Sure,
keep it growing. Hearing from citizens, this is a time where if you want to come to the council meeting in person, you can, and you can address the council. You can talk to them for about 3 minutes, let them know anything that you like or don't like about what's going on in the city, and they're here to listen. They encourage you to come and to do that at each of our meetings. We also had 3 public hearings tonight. These are all pretty interesting things that are happening. We've got some growth in the city. Popeyes is coming to town right next to Culver's.
Right, that's in Mr. Hankey's ward, in the 6th ward, and it'll be on Lindbergh, right next to Culver's right now. There's a structure there that will be torn down, and the petitioner told us that once they start construction, it'll only take about 60 days, and it'll have a double drive-through, and most of their business plans to be drive-through, according to the petitioner. And planning and zoning didn't have any problems with it, and I'm really happy that Popeyes is coming to Florissant. The mayor's always on the lookout for new commercial ventures, and when you knock on people's doors, when you talk to people, they're constantly asking you about restaurants, anywhere from chain restaurants to mom and pop restaurants, and this is just another really good addition for our city, and I welcome them, and I'm glad that they picked Florissant.
Yeah, a question was brought up about the new Popeyes. Popeyes was here in Florissant in the past, and it had a building that and a reputation that wasn't the cleanest. So this lady addressed that issue, that there was a different franchisee owner, and this owner is promising to stay on top of his property and to have a clean Popeyes here for the city.
Mr. Caputa had a question about that, and the petitioner said it was a totally different franchisee, and you know, in the plans that we were shown, it's a nice, clean look, and I look forward to having a nice structure there, build the masonry for our code, and it'll be a nice addition of Lindbergh. Nice
sign, nice electronic sign. They're going to keep to the Florissant's code with what they can run on there. Good. There was also a request tonight to authorize a special use permit for Jake Muir LLC doing business as DC Liquors. It's going to allow for a packaged liquor store in a B3 zoning district. It's located at 39 Florissant Oaks Shopping Center. Not a lot's going on here, Keith, because this was a liquor store before, but this gentleman's really just kind of come in and cleaned up the property.
Right.
Going to open it back up.
Yeah, Mr. Jones has been by there, and it was a liquor store at one time, and Mr. Jones brought to the council's attention there was some problems there in the past, but he's met with Mr. Gleason, the new owner, and Mr. Gleason's cleaned the property up and promises him there'll be no problems. So this was just a pretty simple transition. It was a liquor store at one time, and the liquor store is going back in there. And I wish Mr. Gleason all the luck, and I'm glad he picked Florissant.
And the last public hearing was a relocation of a post sign. It's a property located at 3025 North Highway 67. Am I right? This is where the Starbucks is, close to Newhouse Ferry in Lindbergh.
It is. The petitioner appeared before us, the engineer, where they originally wanted to put their sign. They were having some trouble with easement right away. There was a gas line and a water line there. So now they've moved it just several feet down the road where there's not an easement problem. And we're really happy that Starbucks is there. I think we might be one of the only cities around that has two Starbucks. We have one on Graham Road also, which is in Ward 5. And that was constructed several years ago when Starbucks was cutting back on the number of stores they opened, but they were one of a small handful of stores that picked Florissant to open, and the one on Graham Road in Ward 5 does a great business, and it's a busy location, a busy thoroughfare, and Lindbergh will be the same. And I know my daughters all really love Starbucks, and you know, it's just another great addition to Florissant.
The coffee trend continues.
You are correct.
Okay, second readings. There's an ordinance, the City of Florissant, Missouri, authorizing Ameren, Missouri to provide monthly successor connection reports. This is a pretty neat endeavor that Florissant's doing, just to kind of keep track of connections going off and on. It allows you to kind of maintain residency, occupancy permits, as well as safety issues.
Right, this just gives us another avenue to track property in the city that becomes vacant, and when the electric is turned off there, we have a similar relationship with Missouri American Water. This is a safety issue, and also gives us another tool to keep track of who's living in a house and when the electric was turned off for safety, and for to keep track of who's there. It was pretty simple.
Right. Then there was a second reading for approval and a final subdivision plat for property at 955 North Highway 67, dividing that lot.
Yeah, it's a property in Mr. Henke's ward, and that's a simple split of a subdivision plat.
Under requests, there was a request for a full package liquor license. That was the DC Liquors. That's changing hands tonight.
That passed unanimously.
And first readings, the first two dealt with the public hearing that we talked about tonight. Then there was a minimum standards for dwellings, dwelling units, accessory buildings, commercial buildings, amending sections, and adding a new section regarding the registration of vacant residential buildings. What does all this mean, Keith?
It clears up some language in our two ordinances concerning residential property, rental property, and commercial buildings when they change ownership or when there's an occupancy change.
And the last bill that went through on a first reading tonight was a residential rental real estate by amending sections regarding the rental estate license fees.
Yeah, that was a pretty straightforward amendment also.
Well, let's talk about what's going on in the city. I know we just had a ward picnic. Tell me a little bit about how that went.
We had a ward picnic a week ago at Dunnigan Park, and the weather was the hottest day.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
no kidding.
It was the hottest day of the year so far. And, you know, when Ms. Pagano and I and the council sat down to do this planning, you know, you can't, you know, she often gets upset about the weather, and I said, you can't plan, you know, we could plan for food and beverages and things like that, but you really can't plan on the weather. So we put a great effort in. She's to be commended. And we had an okay turnout. Of course, we would have liked more. Mm-hmm. Eddie, the police dog, was there. The chief was there. Our new lieutenant, Lieutenant Ed Sharp, was there. He was recently promoted. We had hot dogs and hamburgers and chips and cookies and a snow cone machine.
Nice.
That Mrs. Pagano has every year. And we did have some excess food left over. We gave it a lot of it to the police department, and I made a stop at the firehouse. And I know Mr. Caputo went to the firehouse too, so we got rid of a lot of the food that was already cooked.
Good.
And they appreciated it. I know the guys at the police department did. And you know, we're going to plan another one next year, and hopefully the weather will cooperate. But I saw a lot of familiar faces, a lot of residents, and it was really good. Neighborhood Watch, I think, got some people more interested in that program. They had a table there for sign up, so despite the weather, it was really, really good.
And with the heat, the snow cone machine, it kept up?
Yeah, it did. It did. I had one, I had a small one, and it was really good.
Good. Let's talk about the Korean Monument Memorial.
Yeah, on June 26th, yesterday on Sunday, the Korean War Memorial was unveiled at St. Ferdinand Park. And it's a beautiful structure. I hope everybody goes by there to see it. It's nearly complete. Just the lighting needs to be put in. It was a great ceremony. We had a grant for it, and the street department, the parks department did a great job with it. It's really nicely constructed. The monument's there. Flags look great. I like to especially thank Mr. Ken Hoffman. He's the commander of Chapter 4 of the Korean War Veterans Association. He lives in Ward 5, and Mr. Walt Kaiser, another Ward 5 member who had a lot to do with this. And I'd like to thank everybody associated with the Korean War Veterans Association in Florissant. We had some really good speakers. There was a really good band there. It was pretty well attended. It was another hot day. We had some great media coverage in the Post-Dispatch today. One of their top photographers, Mr. Jim Forbes, who's been all over the world, was there, and he has some great pictures in the Post-Dispatch today on the website of the ceremony, and it was just a real moving ceremony, very touching, and it was our 13th flag that we will have in the city of Florissant that we attend to, and that was very symbolic. The mayor gave a nice talk, and it just was a really good event.
Good. Well, it's summertime, so it's grass cutting time. We talked a little bit before the show. Residents, you've got to keep that grass off the street. Once you're done mowing, remember to blow it back in. That can clog the sewers. Yeah,
I do this every time of the cutting season. It's great when people keep their lawns trimmed and cut. And if you're not mulching it and bagging it, please do not blow it in the street. It sounds trivial, but that grass ends up in our sewers, and the sewers back up, and then we have standing water when it rains, and we all get phone calls, you know, Mr. Schildroth, there's standing water in the intersection by my house. Why is that happening? Well, it's because your neighbors are blowing their grass or cutting their grass into the street, and it's against the law to do that, so please take your time to either bag your grass or mulch it. And please do not blow it into the street. Like I said, it sounds trivial, but it does add up after a long summer, and we don't need the sewers being clogged with any debris, let alone grass and things like that. So please think about that.
And last fall, 4th of July is right around the corner. I want to talk a little bit about the Florissant rules and regulations regarding fireworks.
We have an ordinance against that prohibits shooting fireworks off in the city of Florissant. And last year, Mayor and the Chief of Police noticed and received a lot of complaints from some folks who were had people that shot off some pretty heavy-duty fireworks, industrial strength or whatever you want to call it, powerful fireworks, and caused damage to cars and some property. And we're asking folks not to do that. The police, will be out watching for that, and they will be responding to calls. We have a great fireworks show at the Civic Center, and I encourage everyone to go. Bring a blanket and some lawn chairs. It's a really good event. You can look at on our website, or it'll be in the Focus magazine also. And please do not disturb your neighbors with fireworks. And I'd like to congratulate the mayor and the chief. We've really gotten the message out on this. It's been on a couple of reader boards around town. There are signs all over town. You might have seen them at different spots. And the police are going to be pretty diligent, and they're going to be out. And we just want everybody to be safe. We don't need any property damage or anybody getting hurt. So please think about that.
Good. And like you said, Florissant puts on a great fireworks show.
They sure do.
Save your money and come see the cities.
They sure do.
All right. Keith, anything else you'd like to add? What's going on in your ward?
Everything is great in Ward 5.
Good.
I did want to mention Ward 6 has a new business. At Cagino's, they have a microbrewery there now, and I attended their grand opening. It was really nice. It's another one of these items that folks ask about a lot. Why don't we have this kind of business? Why don't we have that kind of business? And we do have a microbrew now. It's at Cagino's. It's actually in the basement, and I took a tour of it. It's really nice. It's Narrow Gauge Brewing Company, named after the railroad line that once came out to Florissant. So I'd like to congratulate the owners of Cagino's. And it's just another great thing for our city.
Support your local narrow gauge.
All right, correct.
Thanks, Keith. Appreciate your time tonight. Appreciate you going through the agenda.
Thank you, sir.
Making it easy for the residents to understand what's happening here in the city of Florissant.
Thanks.
I'm Russell Inman. This has been Council Action. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.